Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of RawRadiantHealth.com, and I'm Natasha St. Michael, and thank you so much for joining me. So it is Wednesday, and last night I was having a group coaching call, and the issue of blood sugar came up, and having to do with the raw food diet and how to maintain an even balanced blood sugar, because a lot of people out there, a big majority of people actually out there today, are either insulin resistant or have some sort of blood sugar sensitivity issues. And I'm actually one of these people, so I have a lot of personal experience and a great amount of tips as well as to how to keep your blood sugar even and what to eat on a raw food diet, and just how really to have the best kind of diet possible for issues like this. And as a lot of you know too, a lot of people with diabetes have actually reversed diabetes completely being on a raw food diet. So definitely there is a way around it, and an enjoyable way as well, and a cure for all this stuff. So nothing is the be-all end-all. But if you know the tricks of how to deal with this and how to have a really good balanced diet, then you can get yourself onto the road of recovery and healing and balance sooner than later, okay? So, and without having to use outside measures to get you balanced. So pretty much my own experience from this is that I used to be insulin resistant, and that came from being a sugar addict. Most people that have any kind of sugar issue, it just comes from, I'm sorry to say, but years usually of abuse, of too much sugar in the diet, and eventually what ends up happening is that our body just can't handle it anymore, and it weakens its resistance to it, and it just starts getting out of balance. So sugar itself is not good for you, okay? Like processed sugar, it's empty calories, there's no nutrition in it, and it throws your body off, okay? So I myself went through years of insulin resistance and had complications because of that, okay? So I know what it's like to have sort of a disorder like this, and what it can also do to the rest of your body, and how it can throw your hormones off, your endocrine system off. Just about everything can be thrown off from having a sugar imbalance. And I was able to get rid of that, but I'm still sugar sensitive today. And that means that even eating fruit, which is, to me, I don't put that in the category of processed sugar, but sugar does have fruit. Everything has sugar in it, actually, okay? Like virtually everything. And that's how the body gets fuel. So it's, you know, when someone says, oh, I got to cut out the sugar, all of the sugar, what it means is anything that's high glycemic they're cutting out, but everything. I mean, even your spinach has a little bit of sugar in there. And we need sugar in order to fuel ourselves, in order to get energy to function, and not only to function in physically be able to move around, but even for our brain to function in order to have our body work. Everything needs sugar, but we don't need a crazy amount of sugar, and especially if your body has been sort of abused for so many years, it loses its ability to be able to process sugar properly. And that's when that happens, then you really have to keep an eye out on how much sugar you're taking in every day. So, question I've been asked quite a bit is what to do when you're on a raw food diet. How do you eat fruits, things like that, and should you be watching your fruit intake if you have a sugar issue? And I have to say yes, okay? I had to. When I first went raw, I had major sugar problems that I was really like conscious of how much fruit I was eating. And in the beginning I was eating not so much fruit, more greens and a little bit more seeds, not so much nuts, but really just getting into the greens and only having a few pieces of fruit a day. And over time, as my body got stronger and stronger, then I was able to process fruit better. But I notice even today that I still can't drink things like smoothies. I can eat fruit, like a whole fruit, and have no problem with it. But the moment I have like a fruit smoothie, it's like I have a sugar reaction. And the reason why is because it's broken down by the blender, right? When you blend something up, it's all broken down, mushed up. And so all the nutrition is really easily available for your body, including the sugar. And so for me, it's like it's too much of a rush, like a sugar rush in my body, that I get a reaction immediately. Whereas if I eat a piece of fruit, I'm chewing it, I'm breaking it down, and it takes a little bit more energy and more time to break down that piece of fruit in my body, that the sugar is released slower. Okay, so anything that's been processed, even in a blender or through a juicer, is going to be more easily available to the body, which is great, but sometimes if you have a sugar issue, it cannot be so great. So pretty much I also just want to point out too is, you know, in case you're wondering if you even have a sugar issue, if the way you know if you have any kind of sugar sensitivity is if you eat sugar and right away you feel tired. Okay, that like you feel like you need to lie down, or you feel a little dizzy, or you don't feel mentally alert, or if you just suddenly feel drained of energy, and if you have shaky hand, that's also another indication that the sugar, it's just too much on your body all at once. Okay, and if you feel great after eating sugar, like some fruit or whatever, and you're able to go and exercise, and you're able to do your work, and you feel energized, then you're fine. Okay. So one thing I have done, though, is whenever I do have a smoothie, I always put hemp seeds in my smoothie, or I put some chia seeds in the smoothie. And that way, and I make sure to put a lot of greens. I don't necessarily have a straight up fruit smoothie. Here and there, once in a while, or normally I put in the greens for the amino acids, which are the proteins, and a little bit of fat that comes either from chia seeds or hemp seeds, okay? Or even flax seeds is fine as well. And that, the protein and the fat are what slow down the metabolizing of the sugar, so that you don't get slammed with it. It's a slow breakdown, okay? And so that's the main thing. Anyone that knows that's diabetic or has major sugar problems, you know that you got to add a little bit of protein and fat with anything that's got sugar in it, like the fruit, in order to slowly metabolize it and break it down. And the same goes with fruit, that you're better off having like low glycemic fruit, things like berries, or even an apple or a pear that's pretty low compared to a melon or a pineapple. And what you can do too, like what I would do first thing in the morning, because that's when I'm really sensitive to sugar, is, let's say, have an apple. I might actually put a little bit of tahini and a little bit of cinnamon. Cinnamon's great, by the way, to regulate sugar in your body. So I'd add a little bit, like just, you know, a small little spread of tahini and cinnamon on slices of apple, and then I'm fine. It balances everything out. So these are like little tricks, is that when you do eat fruit and you're sugar sensitive, have some seeds with it, or have a nut butter or a seed spread, something to just slow down the process, and really just listen to how your body reacts to it. And if you're really, really sensitive, then stay off the sugar, or like the fruits and all that, for a while, and then slowly integrate it back into your diet. Now, I also want to just point out too is certain things that they call so-called raw, like agave nectar. You know, even if it is raw, I don't necessarily think it's the best thing for you, especially if you have any kind of sugar issue. Honey, too, it depends. Some people do all right with it, some people don't. Listen to your body when you have it. Honey, I think, is a better alternative to having agave. I would not have agave in your diet at all. And I also suggest, too, is when you're juicing, okay, because that's another question that came up about adding fruit into a fruit juice, into a green juice. I'm fine with that as long as I make sure that every juice I have, I'm putting a great amount of greens in there, celery and cucumber. The celery and the cucumber are what's going to dilute the juice, and the greens are going to be the amino acids that are going to balance out any of the fruit juice that is in there. So let's say someone has a green juice and they add in some apples, things like that. Just make sure you put a lot of greens in there to balance it out, and not go too crazy with the fruit. Listen to your body. If you react feeling kind of funny, then you know you're having a bad reaction. So I hope these tips will help, and I'm wishing you guys a fabulous, fabulous day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!